is America's RMR, so you're expecting this game to be quite a nail-biter, quite a close one. Hard to make a call. First map in the series, Overpass, and it's Furia starting CT. Complexity's T-side has a lot of questions to answer.
Complexity are just freezing early on. They want to let Furia aggress into them, and Fallen has to try and recover what Cello's lost at his life. Guess what? It's another one forfeited. And if you were looking at Elige to see which Elige would show up, well, it's a pretty good start.
It's a nice way to sort of pull that into question. I mean, you want Elige to perform, you want CS2 to perform, and right now Elige finding those two entries, it makes Furia very uncomfortable. In fact, Elige not just finished, not just content with two. A third found as Art tried to hold on to the long side of the A attack, but this round is pretty well cooked. These two remaining players here on Furia stuck on B, and I don't think they want to gamble. They want to try and even chance it. They're hightailing it out of there. A very clean pistol from Complexity. It's all Elige.
Furia had a plan, and then they met the big bald man. Elige has been taking a shine to the world. I'm telling you, Michael, it's all about losing the hair. That's what gives you the game. Of course, he's had it historically for a very long time as well. Elige, a man who has been present at every major since he first showed up, save one. Krakow in 2017 being the only exception. CS2 falls as well over here. Complexity, very good start to things.
But in terms of actually winning major titles, something that's actually escaped Elige, even with all those attendances.
It's a ghost he's chasing past, but right now he's looking at a much more present Phantom of Copenhagen. Can't be thinking about all of those grand finals from 2016. Well, it's just the one, really, but... Furia as well, of course, a team that does have more than their fair share of demons to try and
sweep up. And now into the rifles. This is a map that, you know, JT, when he was on his come up as an in-game leader, felt like Overpass was kind of his bread and butter. So no surprises that Complexity have picked it into this series. They were talking about on the desk, there's very limited demo work to look back on Furia, and so they won't be ready for plays like that. A triple boost in from Graffiti, JT blissfully unaware.
You have to love the fact that Furia is just pulling out all of these gimmicks from their opponent's map pick. This was the most obvious direction Complexity could go for. From the pistol round to now, we have seen Furia plan things out very meticulously. Sure, the pistol round plan didn't work their way, it doesn't matter. And you have to keep in mind that there is history between Fallen and JT in particular. You only have to go back to 2022, where Complexity fell to Imperial. And that qualification process for Antwerp, you are still going up against some of the finest minds of Counter-Strike that the Americas regions have ever had. Complexity might be favorites on this map, but that doesn't mean it's going to come easy. Furia's proven it before, they'll prove it again. Fallen to cover out the toilets. Oh no! He's given away his position. They might realize there's a man near flower pots. At least the audio cue should give it away. Halzer's found Yuri in the meanwhile. Nading opened the smoke and he continues forward. Fallen found out. CS2 covers him off and gives them the advantage again. 3 versus 1. Elige unable to find contact. And for now, unable to find the bomb as well. Time ticking down low. A player's moved up close and personal. It's Art. Elige doesn't spot out the foot in time. Art will overrun him. 4-1. Furia looking unstoppable.
That's all he needed to hear, that one tap, and it's Art that's willing to aggress right into him, his first frag, but to deny Elige a clutch. They were talking about it on the desk, the idea that Complexity were, in some instances, a bit reliant on players to clutch back. It was Halzerk that was really stepping up to that sort of port of call. But now that Furia have taken control, you maybe highlight JT as these players that are able to breach in, find openings for you. But Grim and Floppy, you know, these are players that have experience and have been touted as these star players within the North American region. And right now, really struggling versus this Furia that are willing to get down and dirty. You know, when there's smokes down, there's Molotovs, they're showing a lot of bravado in the way that they're playing. It's very reminiscent of their opening round as well, coming into this tournament. Taking some risks, but they're very often rewarded. Complexity picked this map. The fourth round would go a long way, that's for sure, but no guarantees, especially on a pretty cobbled together buy. Deeg of JT meets Yuri on that AUG, but he'll hear steps right behind him and does get floored finally by one of the Deegs on Complexity.
Rotation's over. They are so confident in Cello's ability to hold that bomb site. They can stack 3 players here on A. Deep Molotov gets fallen, splits the setup, but Elise now anticipates. He knows their tendency. They're watching out for Art's push as well. Okay, Serrano, can you line up 3? You can't even get 1 in that position. Cello now on the rotate, given a chance to shine, but I don't know if he can really hold a candle up to this set victories. Complexity took so many good scalps. They looked so good and so heavily behind Grim and Floppy. You need that activation, and JT takes down Cello early on. Elise found out, and it feels like with the raid boss gone, a reroute back to A might be a priority for Furia.
Yeah, it's a big head to find. Art as well boosting himself up, but leaves himself vulnerable. Floppy picking him up above that smoke. And Holzer trying to lock them in topside connector. And he does have a nice fallback pass should he spot a player. Yeah, just sees the shoulder and decides to give it up. That was the bomb that was spotted, but not enough skin showing. I don't think that the radar would have shown that to him. They're going to stick 2 and 2 here on the side of Complexity. They do have a Molotov, a flashbang, and a smoke available here for Fury to crack into this site, but do they know that there's a flank being engaged here by Holzer?
I love the push from him. Sets him up for success very nicely, but Yuri could also catch a timing. Yuri instead catches a bullet. Keserato and Fallen. So much success found between these 2 players on that CT side, and Fallen looks to respond on a player who has not retreated. Holzer decides he wants to stay and fight. And now with more rotations coming over, Grim is the one to reinforce the A bomb site. Fallen trying to close the distance, looks for any duels he can take, planting inside the smoke. It's a bold choice, but Keserato can cover off with some great damage found. They know where Holzer is as well, but they're just not ready. Holzer and Floppy do close it out, but Keserato is still looking sharp as ever.
Yeah, great job keeping that pressure up, and Fallen prioritizing that plant to get the money injection moving into that second round. We saw a bit of a force buy back and forth at the start of this game. And Furio may look to engage that same engine on this T side as well. They should move in with a pretty solid buy. One that will be very hard to combat if you're on the side of Complexity. CT side resources do typically cost more.
Yeah.
It's a great way for Furia maybe to be able to answer back, but like you're saying, you know, great proactivity from Holzer, even though they're in that man-up situation. If they let Furia set up for that execute, it probably would have been a lot harder to have held onto that bomb site. Keserato on 17 kills. Not only locking things down on B, but did great jobs on the rotation as well when they were on that CT side. Like you said, still pretty sharp on that pistol.
Zerk, early tag, but he trades it out with a ding to his head as well. That's not going to be particularly conducive. Holzerk now falls. Elige fades away. His teammate might be regretting the fact that he maintained position for so long.
Yeah, Fury didn't actually buy up. You know, they just went in with this one AK, a couple of upgraded pistols, and they were hoping that Cello could maybe pry bar in, but now that AK has changed hands.
You really do wish it would be in Keserato, so. I know he's got the Deagle, but come on, guys, we've had this debate.
He's also a little far away.
I mean, just to start the round off, to be honest. Keserato. Opportunity. Will it be given again? Very unlikely. Art's the one who wants to lead the charge in the meanwhile. Can he find a head? Even damage is fantastic at this stage. CT side money. I mentioned it before. All you need to do is just try and pin it into an impossible circumstance. Art moves away from the flashbang. There's 20 seconds left on the clock. Keserato still committed here onto the A-bomb site. Knows he just needs to find 1 kill to make this somewhat possible to threaten the rotate, see if anyone can move off with the site, anything like it, but no. No kills found. Elite will continue that streak of form.
Yeah, they don't fall foul to that one AK that's recovered. Sure, Art got a kill right back onto Divider, but bar that, Complexity had a pretty solid read on what was happening. Didn't feel like they were panicked at all. So moving into the CT. That's
been time that have all been saves. Furia are running out of time because of a lack of instigation. They must realize it as well. Half-hearted fights won't do it. No presence out towards that A site from Furia in that initial default. They want to reinforce connector and maybe try and funnel through to the B-bomb site. Big maybe though. Complexity, they're ready for that exact play. JT continues to hold close short. Wait for the peaks to come through.
I mean, still has a Legion side that connector as well, but there's so much presence being thrown his way. JT calling Grim over. They're prepared for a double swing, a fight in towards short, and this might be at a timing that they don't expect. Art drops his guard. Yuri inside of that connector cannot swing, even though that door is blown wide open, and a Molotov that greets Quesarado. They heard that singular singe as well. They'll know that there's players right behind that. Elige re-aggressing, but there's Yuri, a patient man. And they swing right into Monster. The flash was good, but Quesarado still able to adjust, and Cello right behind him. It's Grim left alone on the site. Holzerk coming in to reinforce, but he'll be late, and Grim has to perform. The first kill there, but the trade from Quesarado, immaculate. Blowing that smoke open, Holzerk fine, but he's caught right through it. It's Quesarado with 3 for finally a Furia round once again.
Complexity simply lacked the muscle for the monster fight. It feels like they found an advantage so many times trying to peek into that monster tunnel, but they never win the duel. Be it Floppy with the AUG, be it JT with the flash to help him, it doesn't matter. Again, a setup that looks perfect. But when Elite dies and they don't have that late round presence, Grim is expected to show up.
Another valuable timeout used as well. Furia, I mean, both these teams are completely timed out, but Furia in with a round immediately after having a conversation with Gary. There's been riders blocked for both these squads so far this map. It has been a back and forth affair. The Complexity biting the bullet. No money to really buy up proper. So Furia should be locked in for a 12th. Legion's Deeg is what you have to fear the most. A man that has quieted down here on the CT side. And if he has a round, you just know that's going to lift the spirits here of Complexity. It's a big ask for the man with all that experience, all those major attendances.
Surely he can't get it. Surely not. Fallen will take him down. Eliminates that one risk, that one potential threat, small as it was.
They will have to worry about the clock sooner rather than later. 40 seconds remaining here for Furia. Complexity have gravitated a couple more players over. There shouldn't be any real problems.
We say that, but the clock has beaten Furia many times over by this point. Positions revealed, the trigger pulled, 20 seconds are all that remain, and there's 4 players you have to go through. Blinded, sure, but Floppy's going to have the advantage over here. JT and Holzer take them down. JT is fighting. 8 seconds on the clock. They can't get the defuse down. You can see the CT's retreat. Holzer realizes, but Fallen will clutch the bomb in time. Holzer now has to come back into the site. And despite the dangerous bells of clocks timing and chiming, Furia will still recover the 12th.
Oh my dear. That is not comfortable there for Furia. There should have been no question, but those pistols start to strike, and when that bomb fell loose, Holzerk, I mean, you don't blame him for running away. There was a real chance. I didn't even realize there was a bit of team damage done there from Complexity. Not a round that is as important, but man, this could have gotten ugly. Good job from Fallen finding that kill onto JT and punching in those digits in the nick of time.
Fallen has been so key, so influential in a couple of these rounds. Maybe not the flashiest performances, bar one or two. But he's been the difference maker for Furia to find themselves at such a comfortable position where they have that 2-round lead, where Complexity has that deficit in utility despite it being a buy, and Holzerk has lost his life early.
It's one of the two major fighting forces here on Complexity. Damage done to Floppy as well, transiting to the other side of Monster with that smoke. This is a wounded Complexity to try and stave off Furia from taking Complexity's map pick.
An Elige's Sisyphean effort, might have bit off more than I could chew there, of rolling this boulder back up the hill again and again and again. Cello nearby, Elise got off, but he still adjusts for the headshot. An effort you have to appreciate. But it's not about appreciation. It's about finishing. And Furia is looking to do just that.
And it's these two stars that you want to see hit big here on Complexity that are also going to meet the same struggles. Two remain here for Complexity. And that AWP of JT will be empty-handed. Floppy trying his damnedest. He's doing a whole lot to move forward and get themselves booked into Copenhagen, or whether Complexity keep us in this series a little while longer. Vertigo as our second map of the series.
At the same time, Furia felt like they were lacking instigators on that T side of Overpass. The question is Art going to be playing up to those old shenanigans now that he's on slightly more comfortable grounds? Floppy? Dooley is the only defense that this B side have. And he needs to put up a show.
And Leash is hunting for information down ramp, though. It's just going to be too late by the time they realize. Floppy face-checking it, and Art immediately floors him. This is the problem with only having one player on that B site, is that you're going to be left very vulnerable if Floppy ends up empty-handed, but they will have a flank, and Elige will catch Queserato.
Still need Grim to start putting up some numbers. He's not quite able to find anyone. Holzer goes down inside the smoke, and Grim is just waiting for it to dissipate. Elige's flank that was so long in the making might end up finding nothing. Grim falls. Yuri continues forward. His tirade of frags with the AUG in the early portions of Overpass were what gave Furia that beginning. And they were able to propel forward with, run away with, despite Complexity chasing on their heels. Now maybe Furia can do the same. Start off strong.
Yeah, it was a 4-man A start there from Complexity. Some good damage being done here by Elige towards the tail end of things, where he took some damage himself. But I do think he escaped with his life. No round, though. Furia breaching into that B site. Just overwhelming Floppy. It was the weaker of the two bomb sites to hit, and Furia are very satisfied with how that's probably played out. And he just crept up, and Floppy was left blissfully unaware by the time Complexity were starting to cheat those rotations away from what was a 4-man play towards A ramp. Just a little too late.
Potential push forward as well later on in the round. As always, he seems to be the one trying to cordon off space. But a flash for Grim to clear out, but Cello's now going to be given a little bit more free ground. Floppy rotates back. Grim, an annoying angle for sure, but he's only good for one. No, take that back. Two found and he stays alive. Felt like Queserato was set up for a trade, but Fallen, after finding Floppy, loses his head, still somehow has his body.
Yeah, took a lot of damage from Grim, who just came out swinging. Don't think he really stopped for the fight, but in fact, they hit that dink instantly. I like the adjustment here from Complexity as well, getting that boost up. Even if there are smokes down for Furia, crossing into that bomb site will be difficult with that extra elevation. Just have to make sure they don't fall victim to Fallen pre-aiming it on the AWP. First smoke down, but getting past Crane, that's what JT has an angle on.
Fantastic kill found. Art down, Fallen now, that pre-aim. And you mentioned, doesn't really come into play either. Molotov won't stop Yuri from getting the initial peak, and JT is down. 10 seconds on the clock. Fallen needs to try and cover up. The nade from Elige will not finish him. But Fallen now might just end up dying after time. There's 3 seconds left, and he's just trying to hug the smoke. Inside, he lies in wait, and Elige will not be able to trace him. No, I take it back again. That's a huge kill to find. Fallen won't have enough money to be able to repurchase in. Fortunately, Yuri can drop him, but that all being saved over would have really gone a long way.
Yeah, I mean, just it makes the difference not being able to float some extra reserves and be able to push that forward. You know, dropping pistols in a upcoming round should Complexity start to chain two together. You know, that's sometimes the difference between extra damage being done to that CT economy that can be so fickle.
Art's going for a pick right now with the AWP. That's the only reason why you see him have this. Can we get eyes on what he's got in mind, maybe?
Fallen got his hands back on it.
Oh, well.
And that's why.
For good reason, apparently.
He had the hot hand on overpass.
Elige did as well. So far, yet to continue that absolutely absurd spree of domination that he presented, but maybe this is his chance with Floppy setting up for him to trade, potentially. Quesarado, so concerned with the Floppy angle up top of the stairs that he might have gone and missed Elige. Instead, has called for the retreat and a regroup. Plenty of time for Furia to see if Complexity can make a mistake. Complexity, however, with this much utility, have no reason to really aggress through without crossing with some flashes, without getting some mollies out. That's awkward. Don't really blame him for it, but Holzerk right now, fully blind, found out Elige. Trades elsewhere on the map. Fallen moves through a Molotov, but Art moves through Grim's skull. And now Floppy meets a flame of his own as the bomb is being planted. Art will continue to aggress forward. Will Floppy push through the smoke? Yes, he will. Waits for the flashbang. That's what they needed. And now 2 versus 1. Fallen to defend, but the elevated angle is taken by Elige. Fallen does not notice in time. Complexity get there second despite Art's best efforts.
Yeah, some nice kills there from Art, and honestly just like some nice technique as well, throwing that nade on top of that short presence and then having that flash to follow up. That nade, I mean, it just completely obliterates your ability to hear. You've done a good job of holding on to leads so far in this series. Overpass was certainly close. But is this one rifle in Elige's hands going to be enough to propel them into another win? Can they upset Furia here? Just a little jiggle, and Elige hard cleared by Cello, and they know they wounded up this extra player in Grim right behind. That weapon was recovered for just a moment, and all JT had was a USP. They needed Elige to pull through with some frags, but he got destroyed on his fight. Good job not dropping your guard. Furia knew that this was likely to be a lower investment. But it's this weird dynamic for Furia. Little bouts of aggression, but a very slow finish. They highlighted it, you know, the fact that there were so many round timeouts for Furia, and sometimes those rounds, it just came down to losing members as they were crossing into the bomb site and just called it quits. Nice timing for Floppy on this flank, but that weapon is looking mighty irretrievable. Chance of it cascading out of control, all on Holzerk. First kill found, and a second as well. Fallen falls, a Quesarado also hits the deck. Holzerk has pulled this round out of the hat. Art is just trying to punch in those digits and hopes that Holzerk makes a mistake, but it's 4 clean headshots on this Deeg. Holzerk is not to be messed with.
They needed a hero, and the man with the mullet will deliver. Complexity put a stop to Furia where they've been unable to. I asked for a multi-kill defense. This was not the round which I expected to get it, but the skill from Furia. They can't do anything about Holzerk's deagle. They simply can't refrag it. It's not like they weren't swinging together.
Felt like he had to make the adjustment instantly onto Grim, and he was constantly moving, had an SMG in tow and just hit a blinder of a shot. It's faster here from Furia.
They've accelerated forward. Cello with the Tech 9 hoping to find the first, but no, Floppy is not beaking them, not this time. Deep Molotov to prevent any sort of second wave that they are planning on throwing. Despite the lower buy, Furia continue to try and play out a little bit more slowly. Double util pieces going forward. Cello still hidden away. Yuri, in the meanwhile, loses his life, but Cello's Tech 9 is yet to reveal it. Should get one for free. Indeed, it does. There goes Grim. They weren't expecting a player to already be passed, and now Floppy is down as well, but Elige is flanked. That's all they're depending on. Elige needs to get everything here. Has had a player move past him. The Mac in behind. Elige can't adjust, but they're not ready for JT as well. A 2-on-2 as the bomb is planted. JT, a deep flash to try and let Holzerk move in, but the AWP can't take first point. Not against the Tech 9 of Cello. Again, playing that forward angle. Quesarado holding JT off, but JT is getting worried. Complexity need to commit. They don't have the time. They don't have the space. Holzerk is the only one with the kit. JT accelerates forward. Quesarado spots him out. Quesarado just playing it with patience, but his patience runs thin. Quesarado is low, has to hold on, but he can't do so. JT, no kit, no time. It'll be right down to the nick of it. Complexity, fighting, praying, hoping for a fifth, but the time will deny, perhaps right at the nick of it. JT, prayers answered. The South African brings it all together with that second flank in the end.
And he played it so well as well. You saw Quesarado was fiending for that fight. JT was low HP. Holzerk may have taken that first point contact, but he had the health to trade, and JT's just the one that ties the bow on top. He stayed alive for so long. And both these teams were battling ghosts. They didn't know where their flanks were happening. There have been so many times that both of them have been shot in the back. That is certainly a way to close the half. Complexity finally getting some good graces their side of things. We had trigger disciplines on Furia the round prior, and Elige certainly had an opportunity here as well, but how are you going to read Art through a smoke? Holzerk has been doing so much on this CT side, had that crazy round on the dig, and then was just finding pick after pick on the AWP as well.
He was Elige's right-hand man in the first as well. Good to see that that form hasn't dipped down, but Complexity still on this T side feel like they need a bit of a showing. And it's a good start for Elige.
Yeah, and let's not forget, he got 3 kills on the pistol on overpass on T side as well.
That trusty P250.
And they were clean. No assembled boost, no reaction here from Furia as of yet.
Smoke down behind Art, but he's already moved past it. He doesn't care. Once they continue pressing through in ramp, he knows that they're going to have to try and isolate this duel, but Art fights right back. Another player around the corner. They don't swing him properly, not in time. Art's aim cannot be denied, and the bomb is in the back lines. Elige, despite the 2 frags that he has found, now has to carry the whole world on his shoulders.
What a shift Art put in there. 3 kills, played his spot perfectly. Complexity never felt safe to get that bomb down because they knew that he was a presence. Now Elige trying to piece it all together. A 1-on-3 ahead of him. He made steps towards the bottom side of ramp, and he's hoping that they reset, but they've stuck together.
Fury have read this perfectly. Elige, bomb now out. Aren't committed to. Cello's not peeking. They are afraid, and they have every right to be. They should be when it's Elige on the other side. Fallen takes the first peek. Elige cleaning it all up, setting up for the ace. Fallen around the corner, and as he tries to dance with death, Elige is left with no HP, and still Fallen cannot punish. It all comes down to this Complexity behind their leader, hoping, praying. And Fallen with a recovered kit inside the smoke does tap away, but Elige will not bite. Elige will not do so. Fallen still will be able to get this round despite every effort of Elige.
It doesn't get closer than that. The fact that Kit is in a recoverable position and there for Fallen makes a world of a difference. Even though there was the smoke, Elige had to at least chance the idea that he could have been sticking it, especially when he knew so much damage had been done. One more bullet was all that was needed. It was Art that got the pistol round started, but man, Elige could have certainly finished that.
Feels like a metaphor for a lot of how this game has gone, I won't lie to you. Just at the nick of time.
They come in 7-5. They win the pistol, that critical clutch for Fallen. And since then, Complexity have been able to bridge the gap. They cannot let that lead slip. They come in with a non-pristine buy. Art obviously loves working with the SMG, sure, but whether or not he has impact is a whole other question. Elish crept past that short smoke as well and realizes that there's nobody playing forward here on Furia, but it's a different port of the attack. Art challenging in from Crane, but there's more where that came from Furia.
JT's able to recover the spray fast enough to shut Art down. Yuri, however, there's that second prong you're hoping to see, but the flash is too good and Elish is the same. Holzer can trade when his leader finally falls. And now 4 versus 2, Holzer only had to keep himself alive. In the meanwhile, the B site is where Kesarado is found out again. Just not able to find that impact.
Yeah, Holzer might have fallen, but them dealing with Kesarado so quickly more than makes up for it. These players are wounded here on Complexity. Information that may not be all present here for Cello, but one of them is playing forward. A couple of flashes available here for Cello. That smoke faded, and he's dealt with JT. That was the lowest man. Each of the first players that should contact are on that low health. A tap on the bomb, Grim will face, and that's an easy frag for Cello. And it all comes down to Floppy to make sure that Cello can't pull this all together, but it's not a prime position to really combat this. And Floppy had to take a wide angle face. He doesn't fall foul to Cello simply sticking it. This is a key clutch. This time, Complexity close it.
It still gets so close in that 4 versus 2 after Holzer initially dies. You're thinking Kesarado might be able to step up in a way that makes Cello's skill a little bit more worthwhile. And then, you know what, round should be over. But no, Cello brings it all the way down to the wire. The problem is now the shoe is on the other foot. Fury on the CT side. It doesn't really matter how many of these 1v1s you're able to get into. These will almost always have that economy.
If we're talking post plants, that bomb money goes a long way. Especially if they're able to chain rounds together. They're working with some reserve. If Fury start to answer back with rounds, they'd have to deal with 2, maybe 3 consecutive buys.
Elish and Holzer have taken a significant amount of damage, and Art is there to finish them off as well. Potentially, Elish too will fall. And now would be the time for Kesarado's Deagle to shine. Kesarado needs to have a round here. Floppy's already low, and as the flash flies through, Kesarado ends up blind as well. JT trying to fight back, but Fallen now getting involved. This is it, Complexity. This is the round you go back to every single night. This is the round you see in your nightmares.
And it's not just somebody hitting 4 clean Deagle shots like we saw Holzer do in that first half. Instead, it's a more combined effort, and it's Art with this SMG that springs the trap, finds these first 2 kills. They had utility. Signals should have been raised if you were Complexity. There was an investment behind this that Furia were willing to leverage. These shots from Cello are clean, but it's that initial aggression that sends Complexity his direction.
Complexity are fortunate to have a buy, but their mental must be shaken at this point. Art is still getting aggressive. Elish, can he find him? Elish turns around. Art has the advantage. And now Art just maintains with the spray. There is nothing they can do to get past this man. 24 kills, 13 deaths. Art is playing it to perfection.
He may have taken a moment to get activated on CT, but man, is he delivering the goods. Cello tanking a nade. I don't know that a sound cue was given over to Floppy. He seems a little hesitant to commit to the idea that there is somebody still committed in this position. Cello still yet to reveal his plan. This should be a Furia round, so long as Cello finds this kill.
Oh, the patience as well. Cello knows that all he has to do is force Floppy to show his hand. And from here, it's his teammates' job. Floppy. No choice but to go for it. The attempt has to be made. Kesarado can try and commit to a flank later on if they allow the bomb plant in. And that should be the call. Don't contest him too hard. Art is low. Flash overhead will not matter. Fallen gives Floppy the space to potentially move away, and Floppy's hurt Fallen. And first duel could be taken. In the meanwhile, they wait for Kesarado to commit. In through ramp he goes. He's now watching out for that dark peak to come through, and at the smoke down, Fallen can't cover. Art on the smoke. The nade should finish him off, and indeed it does, but Fallen, position revealed will not matter. Fantastic shot to take them down, and it is all Art they have to thank for that round.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't have kits as well, but Floppy doing a great job of reading that situation as well. Had he over-peaked in from short, KSRado was holding for him. The fact that they were so hesitant to actually push him after that plan had been revealed starts to give you an idea on some of the numbers that Furia will operate in that following round that could scare them to bits as well. Furia was that first hurdle. And it's all about whether or not they can bring us into the overtime or not off this cobbled by.
JT to take charge. Art. He's not going to get aggressive, not in a round like this, not so early at least. He's waiting for the play to be made. Elige and JT will be made to fear him with his position reveal, but Yuri's the point man again. Yuri's putting up numbers, but Elige and Floppy are the ones finding frag. Holzer's Molotov still equalizes, not in the way they wanted it to. Complexity. With the AWP of Holzer unable to find anything, still remaining uncontested. This Molotov from Fallen is everything. It's going to give them so much more space, but it's missed. It's gone inside the smoke. The bomb can be planted, and in the meanwhile, Cello is just revealing position. They're trying to close distance. The 5-7 finds nothing. Elige low, boxed into a corner of sandbags. No flashes from Furia's side. They cannot push Holzerk away, so the smoke is all they have to rely on. But as they continue to delay, as they continue to wait, Holzerk will close the distance to them. He wants to combat off this out, and Elige is here to continue to prevail, to continue to perform. Holzerk misses the no-scope close range. Grim is still knifing thin air. Elige takes another down. Complexity are still in it.
How on earth do they keep on pulling these rounds together when economy is dried up? They go for fast B hits, they attack ramp this time over, and they end up in this 3-on-3 where resources are just spilled all over that A bomb site. There are smokes that are down, there are Molotovs available there from Furia, but they're counteracted by just how much presence there is, by how many smokes that are down. That is a round that felt like they could have successfully retaked, but they were doing such a good job on Complexity, not giving them much of an inch, not giving them the fights that they were hounding for.
And you have to appreciate the fact that Holzer closes the distance like that as well. Sure, he misses his shot, but the amount of space he's able to give Elige and Grim, Grim just goes off into the distance. He's just knifing. He's like, you know what? No matter what happens, I'm not losing to a ninja.
But as well, not be having to be so concerned about getting swung from the right-hand side. That's what Holzer kind of provided to them. Damn.
Elige ends that on 24 and 17. Art is on 24 and 16.
Yeah. And
these two are neck to neck.
But Art's been trapped at 24 since he's been able to have that impact. You know, we saw a couple of rounds back to back where he was able to really just command presence.
But where Art is strapped, KSRado has given them a few more performances, right? He's up to 17. He's been giving them those multi-kills, 2 different double kills coming in at crucial moments.
We're seeing much more of an even field for the rest of the Complexity squad. We're maybe not seeing the star presence from player like Floppy or Grim, but they're able to pull their weight when it comes to the trading game and actually just getting into the sites. It does kind of feel like if you're Elige, you're having to battle back all of the Titans on Furia. On that first map, you're looking at KSRado and Yuri. Now it's Art you're having to combat with. That's the whole damn core, let alone Fallen AWPing you at every given opportunity. He has been the consistent piece for Complexity and a big reason that they're still fighting in it.
It feels unfair to even call him the consistent piece because of how consistently excellent he's been.
Yeah.
Normally you think, oh, consistent piece, you're thinking maybe someone like a Perfecto.
Yeah, like a 17, 16, back when we were on MR 15, those were the numbers you're sort of targeting.
You're getting overrun on a site, you're always going to be good for 1 kill, maybe even stay alive. Not a point man taking it to the man himself.
It does seem as though we've come into this overtime blood pulsing. Something's happened with someone's PC.
Monitors being punched is something we've already seen.
Hopefully, I don't think here yet, hopefully.
Not in this RMR.
Yeah. Let's make sure all these tempers are contained.
It's hard to do that, though.
They wouldn't be out of the tournament, but some of those teams have already had to take that on the chin.
And for Furia, we have to keep in mind what's on the line, right? We had such an underperformance from them at the Paris Major, bombing out of the only stage they were allowed to participate in. Of course, they entered the top 16, but they exited at 16. And ever since then, it felt like Furia does have that developed strat book with them. Now would be as good a time as any to pull that out. But into overtime we go. Our heroes are certain. Art and Elige. But who will shine brighter? That is the question.
And will a weakness emerge again? They hit the B bomb site a number of times here on Complexity. This time they're given a little bit of grace as well. Quesarado nading himself at the start of this round.
Never good.
Ooh, a little singe there onto JT. Oh, and a missed smoke from Quesarado.
That is really unfortunate. Quesarado completely botching his utility.
He went through the gaps in the stairs.
That's not every day you see it. Fully clearing out the B side and trying to make it look like they want to go for a commitment. Complexity are instead angling to A. Fallen has fallen. Only Yuri to reinforce, and the problem is with Holzer, he is the kind of player who you don't know if he really comes in with a lot of reinforcements, despite him being the AWPer.
Anchoring the AWP is sometimes his duty. But they vacated. Only actually allowing Holzer to hunt with that AWP. But Yuri is still kept around because of that. They don't really know what's coming. Quesarado making up for Yuri, going 1-for-1, but it's a trade right back here for Complexity. A man advantage and the flash good. Art forced to take cover inside of the generators. And just hoping that Yuri can also sweep up, but Art finally found around those gens. And Yuri left in a 1 versus 3. That smoke that's down may provide a little bit of coverage, allow him to escape that with their watchful eyes. But another smoke that greets him that will buy even more time.
Surely you turn around and go back to save that AWP from Fallen. It's on the A-bomb side. It's inviting you. Yuri, however, wants to go for the full commitment, fighting into too many swings. Elige to take him down. 13 for Complexity. And him not saving the AWP over there is very significant. It's 10K. They're not going to be able to buy up another AWP later on in the third round if they fall again. The Joker, it's supposed to be Elige versus Quesarado. Supposed to be the iconic cross-continental rivalry, but for now, Complexity seem to have the bigger man and the bigger monster. 1-for-1 trade to start things off, but as Art closes the distance, JT around the corner is asking for death, and Art is happy to deliver, but he's lost his teammates and he's lost his advantage. Ground conceded, and Complexity look to start riding 15 on the top of the scoreboard. Fallen to go down. And where Furia had every advantage, instead Cello will roast to death. Complexity have 3 opportunities to close out this comeback.
Yeah, and just Elige just keeps on finding impact as well. This man is not slowed down in this map. How on earth has he been able to just pick apart defenses and find so many chances for this Complexity squad? He does it again. Overtime has beckoned him, and he's answered.
There have been so many question marks, so many conversations about the NA GOAT across the years. With Twist getting the Grand Slam, people try to make a case, but I've got to say, man, just look at the server, look with your eyes. Look at what is in front of you. It is greatness consolidated into a single man. Cello to experience it firsthand.
He is doing his damnedest to make sure Complexity do not go out a measly 2-0. They've got a nice high-low setup as well, built for mid, and Art trying to pick it apart, but he found Floppy, the instant headshot, the quick tap, and then Elige was here too, so it's Art and Queserado to break down what was a very strong mid setup there for Complexity. And suddenly a man advantage that rears its head for Furia.
It looked like they had the right idea. But even the best of intentions can always go wrong. Lean back to A from Complexity. They're going to be ones to prioritize their money. In the scenario that Furia ends up hitting the B bomb site, which is the scenario that we will see transpire, Complexity will not contend.
They don't want to be resource starved, maybe the same way that Furia were for their final round of that first half of the overtime, but JT's still giving it a gander, seeing what he might be able to find around those smokes.
They've decided to go in for it.
Yeah,
they want to go for the full retake. Queserado should be able to cover this off as well. Continues to deliver in overtime. Queserado, another big double. Has been somewhat missing at times, but Holzerk with 10 seconds is really hoping to find the bomb planter. He might have done it. Yuri goes down, and as they're just trying to zone in, Fallen had to cover, and he delivers.
I think that was the only reason they started to think, why don't we go for this actually? They were moseying about, not getting that bomb planted quite quick enough, and then pushing through that smoke, it added to that chaos. The fact that Holzerk,
wow,
found that extra kill, I mean that's just lightning sharp there from Art. He has been on one, on Vertigo. But so crucial that Holzerk gets nothing further from that. A quick tack. In the OT, you get one. For every overtime, a new one that could potentially be discussing with your coach as to what you should be doing next.
And listen, you can say a lot of things about Complexity. They've been very good with their tack usage. A lot of teams end up not using them at all. It's sort of like dying with the grenades in your belt. It's like, might as well.
I think in general, both these teams have had a very good conversion rate once they've called that timeout.
And that's something to be scared of if you're Furia.
Whether it's TC or Gary, finding impact in the server, even though they stand behind their players.
Holzerk looking to peek in. He's got that one. Makes it look like it's free, but needs to be careful not to just cross over in front of Grim's aim. That would be disastrous. Grim still trying to play bodyguard. If Cello moves through, he knows there's going to be an op on the other side to greet him. Meanwhile, JT, he's gone. And with that, the A site as well penetrated.
It was slow working, but they've got some space now. Grim, down the ladder he goes, and Cello was caught between watching B and watching that ladder drop, but Grim couldn't quite find that head fast enough. Man up here for Furia. Nice that Cello kept his head on a swivel, but once again, there's all this utility down, but Furia not rushing, not looking to get that plant in swiftly.
And with the smoke now covering off Queserado, he's not really going to be able to add anything to this overall debate on the A side. Complexity find a quick pick through that very same smoke. Queserado is down, the bomb on the ground. With 30 seconds left now, a boost could be big. They decide not to assemble it. Worried about Fallen, expecting that very same boost, and now Holzerk will just watch the cross with the delay they found earlier on. The smoke is finished. Cello can't move, and he needs to. He needs to get out of the way as Fallen has missed his shot and the opportunity is lost. Complexity on the verge of delivery. Only Yuri left, and as he's found one, denies the plant, keeps it going, but Holzerk's defused. Complexity will even...
Light coming into this year. The last map to find out who joins Imperial out of the Americas region to make it to Copenhagen. It begins and ends on Nuke.
And it begins with JT's head being popped like a pimple. Caserado finds that early. Good to see him performing. He had a slightly weaker Vertigo despite being able to reinforce quite a few important rounds. And now this crossfire in ramp has been broken apart. The head of Cello is feeling a little bit lighter with a bullet having gone right through it. Art now to try and hold down the line. Caserato's rotation will be helping him as well. Fantastic adjustment. Art is looking like he's still coming in with the same form that he showed in Vertigo. Hopefully we can see a similar performance here as well. Bomb being planted, shots being evaded. Grim, however, does just stay alive. 2 versus 4, Grim and Elige. Elige starts off strong, but Grim's been taken down. In the meanwhile, Elige barely has any HP to work with, but at the same time, Furia's not looking particularly hot either. Unfortunately, Elige just isn't looking.
Yeah, I mean, Elige, I think, didn't realize that he had the kit as well with him. If he knew that, he might have played the situation a little differently, but there were so many players. There were players that were wounded as well there on Furia, so it could have been a chance for Elige to clutch, but not to be. Furia making some nice little rotations once they realized that Complexity were going to attack that lower side. Caserado with some nice pistol work. Just having too many numbers at the end of the day. By the time they breach in and get that plant in, extra money will be nice, but they would much rather the round with it as well. They put a stop to it. 1 round to break through for Complexity, but answered right back, and they're now in with a few upgraded pistols.
Oh no, Caserado gotta be careful, not able to recover his aim in time. Floppy finds him, Yuri trades. Bomb not down yet, and as Yuri threatens the vent player, Holzer's losing a lot of life, but still keeps himself alive long enough for the bomb to be relayed over. Art worried now, the Tech-9's trying to close the distance. M4 at close range doesn't have the advantage. And Complexity just frees, but that invites Fallen to move in. Fallen looks away, and Art makes up for that missed shot. Otherwise, surely Grim would have taken him down. 3-man setup on ramp, and the first one's already been wounded. Meanwhile, they try to walk back, but Cello is here. Complexity maybe got a little bit too tricky.
It feels like Holzer's been glued to that ladder the entire time this round has been cooking. They knew that they had some space towards lower, but they wanted to see if they could re-navigate, especially since Furia sort of reinforced ramp. Yeah, this seeming like the plant will be allowed here for Complexity. So given what they come into this round with, I mean, that's more than you could have asked for. Some extra damage to be done onto Furia's economy would have also been a cherry on top. But 5th for Furia.
For sure, both teams would be happy to get that extra time to speak to their coaches. Furia just want to continue front-running forward. It's been 2 comebacks in a row from Complexity. 1 could not be completed. Overpass could have really swung the other way as well. But the same can be said for Vertigo. All we can hope for is a close nuke, and Yuri doesn't want that at all. Yuri wants to press the issue, and the issue is his life. It's finished, it's over, but will they expect a second? Surely not. Art ducked away. It's a classic from Art, but as Holzer gets up on top of the red box, he will fall. JT is here to trade. And with that, the advantage once again in the hands of Complexity.
JT can be, again, such a problem to deal with. They know that he's tagged towards outside, and they wanted to try and trap him in, but with a smoke that's down, again, just being a player that they have to be concerned about for a later activation. Look at the space it's providing Floppy. Grim actually creeping his way all the way out through door, but between the two of them, they've been able to take the A bomb site. It's left vacant, but they finally deal with JT outside. It's back into a 3-on-3, but Complexity get that bomb punched in.
Nate also doesn't really do anything to Grim, so he's okay with this, but double push out from heaven.
Fury have a lot of utility.
They'll have to use all of it to try and displace Grim from this position. He's the primary risk that they have to take care of. Grim instead actually ends up backing further behind into the site. He's still alive. Caserado's double keeps him in the round, and now it's all him and Elige. Can't quite get the silent drop down, but he's still committing to the defuse. Elise rounds the corner long enough that Caesarado's pushed off of it, and now Elise swings out. Caesarado prevented. Elise prevails.
You just can't stop this man.
And that's a rocky path for Complexity, down 2-6. They really would like it if they didn't have to make a comeback every time, and I'm sure the fans watching them would probably sympathize with that feeling.
North America not feeling too hot right now. It's the culprits you want. Caesarado and Yuri walking down their spots. Even though there's been some difficulties in engaging towards outside, because sometimes JT has proven to be a nuisance, it's been far and few between. Already starting lower, and them preparing for Furia to have made a forward play, but they're much further back. I mean, the fact that Yuri has that deep angle into the garage just makes it so much more difficult for them to actually creep into an A-side attack.
Free fire, Elise not taken down, manages to stay alive. Yuri, lineup's not quite there. JT now looks to contest. Yuri being lethal with that AK, if I'm honest. It does feel like he just wants to take more and more fights. Just use that first bullet.
I mean, that was quite the fumble from Yuri. That could have been a man advantage. But now access towards Secret granted, and Art is going to be that first line of defense, but he's pulled away. The fact that Fallen has called distraction, Art's starting to creep back up those vents, but there's players down lower here for Complexity.
The bomb plant should come through, it'll be free. No one here to contend. And meanwhile, Holzer covers off. The vent is completely blocked. 3 players are trying to walk down, and 1 is already dead. The second to follow. There's no way for Furia to get into this bomb site.
They completely misread this. Complexity getting themselves down towards Secret, and those players starting to attack the A side. Art started to vacate. He started to rotate over, but his main responsibility was making sure that they couldn't get down towards B. And once they had that deep line through the vents, between Halzerk and Elige, they completely shut Furia out. Art's over-eagerness to rotate to help his teammates on an A-side defense cost them here.
And I think the thing is that Yuri didn't actually realize there were 2 different players he tried to find, JT as well, because Elige hadn't fired off a bullet. So they thought that that was just a late lurk on outside that Elige does like to play. But that is a weapon in your back pocket that you might find seeming suspiciously empty later on.
That's just the one that you call because you know you need to make sure everyone understands what their responsibilities are. They need to keep their comms clean. Oh, that's not good. A little dink to the back of JT's head coming out of spawn, but unfortunately it's a Glock and it's team damage, so it's not as bad as it could be.
Some brotherly love.
But it does leave him vulnerable to one-shot headshots by M4s. Or it could just be a double dink for Art on an MP9, who knows?
It's an iconic position from Fallen almost. Really reminds me of those B-side angles he used to hold on Train, but right now he's losing members. Caesarado gone. He's been contended largely by Floppy more often than not. Trying to push through a smoke this time when it's a fair duel, well, he's not ready for it. I do quite like this. Elite is waiting for that smoke to dissipate on outside to take the duel with Yuri. In the meanwhile, Halzerk pushes forward. Art's going to be found out, so he can't actually take advantage of the scope forward into hell. He's forced to retreat. Meanwhile, Elige, this is that exact duel that he was looking for, will be presented soon. Only question is who blinks first.
This could be perfect. They just insert a late lurk on Floppy, and they want to reset and attack this A bomb site, but Yuri finding Elige on the lurk, JT to trade, but Cello at the back of the site, still alive and kicking, trying to keep himself afloat. Players coming up those vents, and Fallen's there to reinforce, but they didn't realize that Hell was an access point. It's Floppy left in a clutch, a 1-on-3 that's chewed down to 2, but he tries to tap, he forces Fallen forward, and it's Art that remains on this MP9, but he doesn't know where he's coming from, but he outguns him. Art caught him off guard, but Floppy had the health to trade. Floppy, a big round for Complexity.
The missing link has been found, Floppy. gives them a round which felt like it was completely hinged on Elise getting a kill outside, but when Fallen comes through with the backstab, it's a 1v3, you're thinking it's all over, but that late lurk you mentioned it, Michael, that one insertion, that was supposed to be the cleanup crew in mind to compete to be the best in the world in front of a stage of thousands of cheering Danish fans in Copenhagen at a world championship celebrating the greatest game to have ever been made, a competition beyond any other.
Yeah, but there's nothing about not enjoying yourself in
That's true, actually.
Yeah,
you're right.
You can do that too.
Achieve greatness, but have fun in the process.
Well, this is hardly a fun round to play out if you're Complexity. Elise has a M4, but JT's spam on the Deke will end up empty-handed. They do manage the cross here for Furia. And Elise hasn't put up those same crazy numbers that we've been seeing from map to map. Hard to expect that from him, but he will be called to action here. A step made and some information given up. They know that Elise is round that corner.
Elise just runs right off into the horizon, doesn't want to try and contest that for too much longer, but in the meanwhile, Furia is actually reconsidering an upper side hit. Grim with the 5-7. There's no one in Squeaky, so this isn't going to be an easy clear. Holzerks as well in a very annoying position, but Holzerk in fact crouches away, and now all he had was the element of surprise, and with Cerrado peeking forward, this egg has got no toys inside of it.
It almost felt like if you were going to look at Grim in that spot, Holzerk almost needed to distract for him to find success. There were going to be too many numbers to really deal with, even on that 5-7, even with them running into you. But just no success being found from any of the Complexity members. Way to set players up for some of those aggro moves. It's just basically impossible to do on nuke, bar outside perhaps. So if they're looking to try and facilitate a plan and find an opening pick, this is about the best they can do. Holzer taking an angle towards Red and Elise on top of Garage.
Holzerk able to fade away as well. Very, very important though that they realize it. There could have actually been another player there. Fallen finds Elise elsewhere on the map. Not too far off.
There was the hoping that Holzer got his kill, fell back, and that Elise would catch one more off guard. Instead, it's that trade kill that Furia are fine with.
Holzer needs another one, and shot's been missed. That's clip Art through the edge of the wall, but that's not good enough. JT needs to finish it off, and Art is deadly. We already know that. Grim hoping to be overlooked. At least one should be free, but even that's being flustered and floundered. Cerrado finally taken down as well. And where both remaining players on the T side are low, Holzerk and Grim are hardly feeling too healthy either. Holzerk knows where Art is, covers it off as well. All down to Fallen. The 1-on-2. AK in hand, op abandoned on the floor elsewhere, and Fallen needs to take the fight to them. If Grim is allowed in nearby, well, he's gone! Straight to the head it goes, and he knows that Holzerk is rotating in from ramp. Holzerk, Hearts goes forward to meet his death. Fallen will still get it done. He will still destroy your dreams. He will break your hearts and your hopes.
So difficult there if you're Holzerk. I mean, low health, but he didn't know that Fallen was as wounded as he was. Maybe that information could have been relayed over, but easy to get lost in all of the chaos. Flanks on flanks. You had Art coming in from hell. They waited for him as well, but the fact that he found that first kill so rapidly, Holzerk wanted to try and face in, but it was his teammate that up in that crazy hectic situation towards the lower bomb site with Fallen clutching. But it feels like if you want to play to your own pace, finding a way to instigate can be your best solution. Maybe this is just a talk to motivate the squad. Yuri A very aggressive move. Moves past the smoke, the HE that followed it, and he's just looking to challenge and contest towards Secret. JT has burnt to a crisp, and Arts dove into the vents. They've got access towards the lower side. Quesarado linking up as well. There are 2 players down Secret, 2 down the vent, and Complexity have yet to move off the upper side of the map. No one's made that reaction or rotation over.
It has to be a safe call. Trying to retake this? That's practically suicide.
But no one even flinched. They didn't try and plug up the gap. Did they even know that one existed? Of course it's the save. B was compromised before anyone was in a position to really combat it.
Furia are running circles around Complexity right now. They are out-aiming them, they're out-calling them. They're out-clutching them even.
And we said 5 coming out of that T side for Complexity. That's a decent half.
That's solid.
Yeah. They win the pistol. They win the conversion.
There you have it. That's supposed to be your influence forward. That's supposed to be the wind in your sails going into the horizon, smoothly into the CT side of Nuke.
But now that we've seen Furia on guns, they haven't stopped.
Never. Be it Yuri on outside, be it the stray picks they're finding or Fallen's clutches, Furia have just been untouchable. Deep scope in, but again, not the frag. Once more, Yuri left on 19. Last time it was Art, and Fallen's found Elige. In the meanwhile, desperation is dripping off of Complexity as they realize there are 3 men left. And those 3, not for long, perhaps. No, Fallen down and out. Grim's able to evade capture.
About linking up. Actually being able to get that bomb planted, just making sure that there wasn't a player that was willing to hazard that dive down the vents once again. Complexity still with that man down, but they have no lower player. Floppy's starting to hazard a glance.
Two men left in Complexity. They've begged, they've prayed, they've scrapped for survival. But truly, it feels like Furia is inevitable. The fire of Furia continues forward, and Floppy, the only one to interrupt and punish. Cello could still be caught out, but Holzer doesn't quite get the timing, and Quesarado can find his. Floppy had a clutch already, but 2 now where they might be expecting him as well. Quesarado turns, and Furia move on. Copenhagen away.